Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge. This is your latest Manchester United news as Ruben Amorim has basically said he's had enough. Some really interesting post-match comments from Amorim after the diabolical performance against West Ham. We're going to get into those. He's basically said he's embarrassed and he's basically said there's going to be big changes at the end of the season regardless of whether we win the Europa League. There's a lot to dissect. There's a lot of people not very happy. We'll certainly do that. But I think the big thing, and we may as well hit it at the very start, is that there will be people out there going, should Amorim survive? Will Amorim survive? And the reality is, I would implore you to listen to what he said after the game, because he's talking like me and you. Why should a guy not survive who is saying exactly the things that we're saying? Why should he be held responsible for exactly the things we've been talking about for years? This is just, to me, pitiful, ridiculous that another manager is being held accountable for what we've all known for years, which is the club is run like the Titanic and the players aren't good enough. And yet the manager gets the blame again. The reality is, and, fight me on this, the reality with Amorim is, and we'll go through his comments, he can't do it with these players. Now, if that leads you to be Amorim out, let's discuss that. But I'm telling you, as somebody who is behind this manager and wants him to do well, he can't do it with these players. So when I hear people go, he's not improved these players, 17 losses in the Premier League, and he can't do it with these players. That's why we're 17 losses. That's why we're not performing. That's why they're not improving, because he can't do it with these players. Now, if you know a manager that's going to come in and do it with these players and win the Premier League, come on down. Because I'll call you a liar. There is no manager that is coming out and doing it with these players. He can't do it with these players. If you listen to what he said after the game, he's basically again saying there has to be huge change in the summer because he can't do it with these players. It's embarrassing. He's out of ideas. Enough is enough. He can't get consistency out of them. He can get the odd performance, but he can't get consistency. It's like F1 Formula 1 racing. The Ferrari car. Sometimes it's good. Most of the time, it's really inconsistent. That's Manchester United. But we're not Ferrari. We're probably, something a lot worse. He can't do it with these players. Now, tell me a manager that can. I'll call you a liar. Unless you're going to start talking to me about people like David Moyes or Gareth Southgate who come in and say, just kick the ball far up the pitch and chase it, win the second balls. Let's do really low IQ football. But that's not what we're looking for. That's not what we're looking for. We want to compete with the Arsenals. We want to compete with the Liverpools. We want to compete with hopefully the Barcelonas at some point, not with these players. So I think some people get lost in this. Oh, it's unacceptable. It's 17 losses. It's absolutely rubbish. Oh, the manager should be doing better. Why? Why should he be doing better? I mean, that's the question. Why should he be doing better? Do you think you could do better? Not better in relation to get a win today, but See, I think where we can do better is we could have won a few more games than we've lost. But where does it take you? If you want to climb the mountain, and I'm saying those shoes won't get us up the mountain, and you say, yes, they will. And I go, I can't climb the mountain in those shoes, so I won't make any progress. And you go, well, you can. And I watch you climb the mountain and I don't climb it. But then about a quarter of the mountain up, you fall down because the shoes won't get you there. Who was right? Me. That's what Amorim's saying. All right, bring Moyes in, bring Southgate in. We'll climb the mountain a little bit more than we have now, but we won't climb the mountain. What we're trying to do with Amorim is climb to the top of the mountain. By all means, bring in some shitty, basic, low IQ manager, and I bet we'll get better results, but we won't climb the mountain, and that's what we're trying to do. And the only way we're going to do that is by removing a vast amount of these players. And that seems to be what some people just don't understand. Because we do live in a society of swipe left, swipe right, quick, instant, no patience. But this is going to take it. If Ole Gunnar Solskjaer set us back 3 years, logically, it should take 3 years to rectify the mistake. It's funny how you can have 10 years of failure, but a manager is meant to solve that in 6 months without a transfer window and a pre-season. That's the world we live in now. How long have Man United been deteriorating? A decade. How long have you given Amorim? 4 months. Yeah. And that's the problem. Nobody wants to address the real issue that if you let something decay for a long period of time, you don't just put a pound in it and it goes back to how it was. You're going to have to take a long time to do it. And it's very, very clear that what you've got is a manager that is basically saying to the fan base, I can't do it with these players. And I sort of look at it and go, I hate the way that we keep losing games. I hate the way that we keep embarrassing ourselves. But actually, when I calm down, I completely agree. Otherwise, I'm the world's biggest hypocrite because I've been sat here with this community for a very long time talking about clearing deadwood, buying better players. We need more experienced, top quality players. We don't need more learner drivers. We don't need to keep people like Victor Lindelof here for 8 years when they should have been here for 18 months. We need to do a lot of things over a long period of time, and we haven't even started doing them yet, and yet we want to sack the manager. So I completely agree with what the plan is, but I fear that we don't actually have the appetite for what needs to be done. And I think we'll go through his comments in a moment, but I think he basically alluded to the fact that if this continues early next season, he probably won't be here that long, and I don't think he will, to be honest. Whether that's right or wrong, I will stick with the manager because I'm tired of sacking managers. I didn't really want to sack Ten Hag, but it got to the point where it was inevitable, and it probably will get to the point, sadly, where it's an inevitable that Ruben Amorim will get sacked. But I think what people don't realise is that they start talking about we'd be better off with Southgate. Southgate's a joke. Southgate's an absolute joke, and loads of other managers like Southgate are an absolute joke. We didn't pick Southgate. We picked a manager that plays a system we've never played in our history. We picked a manager from Sporting who had one of the most hipster styles of play in world football that a lot of people were looking at. We chose him, and we've not even got started. You're asking him to play 3-4-3 with a bunch of players that wouldn't know if it was Wednesday when it's Tuesday. Like, they haven't got a bloody clue. So it's going to take at least 2 years from this point, and it's certainly, I don't think, going to improve that much next season. And yet, we will still be handing out another manager. But we're going to take some of your comments, but this is what Ruben Amorim had to say. There's a few bits, but this one sort of stood out to me. I feel embarrassed to be in this position, and it's difficult to accept. This was after the game. Embarrassed and difficult to accept. Everyone has to think seriously about many things. Everyone is thinking about the final, but there are more important things to think about. We have to change many things at the end of the season. And that, to me, makes me trust this manager. Because all I kept saying, and a lot of you were saying through the watch-along and the match reaction is, I've seen Man United lose a lot of games this season, and maybe there's different reasons. I felt against Wolves, they had one shot, they scored, and we should have scored a load more. I think today, whilst we had chances, I don't think we deserved to win the game. And I thought today, there was a number of players that were focused on a final they probably won't even start in. And therefore, they weren't putting a shift in. And that, to me, is a mentality I cannot understand. Because I watched Arsenal go to Anfield after disappointingly finished second and being knocked out of a Champions League semi-final. And I didn't see a drop-off in their mentality at Anfield where that crowd really wanted to put them to the sword. They went there from 2-0 down and got a result. We'd have been beat 10-0. And that's the difference to me. Arsenal would have every excuse, and I'm sure there was plenty of Arteta arts waiting to go in on them because they've been beaten by Liverpool, and they didn't. You know, really disappointing result against PSG, really disappointing to be second in the league, nothing really to play for. You're going to Anfield, you're doing the guard of honour, and somehow Arteta and those players got them up at 2-0 down as well, where United would have down tools, got them up to go and put a performance in, but Man United can't do it. Light switch FC. We can't, look, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said it perfectly. On our day, we can beat anybody, and we are that club. But it's the most offensive categorisation of a football team there is. I think a lot of people think it's a positive. On our day, we can beat anybody. It's not a positive. What it actually means is we're really inconsistent and shit. Because on our day, we can beat anybody, but mostly we will lose. And light switch, you know, somebody just said at the start of the chat, here, we had a super chat from Solid Blake, petition to have the final move to a Thursday. It's the only day we turn up. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. If that had been a Europa League tie today, you'd have seen a different United. But light switch players are dangerous. People who can switch it on and... Spurs. We are Spurs. Like, Spurs have been that for years. They can beat anyone on their day. They're a light switch club, and we've become that. And it's dangerous. And I think that is what Amorim is basically saying. People are thinking about the final. There are more important things to think about. We have to make many changes at the end of the season. And that, my friends, is really a statement to people like Sir Jim Radcliffe and Joel Glazer that this final cannot be a smokescreen. It cannot paper the cracks on what has been an horrific season. And there has to be many changes. There can't be one or two. You can't win the Europa League and go, we're in the Champions League. There's Liam Delap, there's Cunha, and Eriksen and Lindelof have left. That would be pitiful. This needs to be wholesale changes on a major scale. But look, for anybody who's in doubt, that's the manager of Manchester United basically saying, I'm embarrassed. It's difficult to accept. There are many problems at this football club and they are serious. They cannot be masked by winning a final, and there has to be many changes in the summer. Well, you know what? I don't feel great at the moment about what happened today, and I don't feel great about what's happened in the Premier League, but I do feel a little bit slightly more positive about what's happened. And I think that what Amorim said anyway. He said, for me, it doesn't matter if we win the Europa League because the problems are much bigger than that. And look, I hope we can trust him on that. I hope we can trust him on that, because I think there's quite a few of us that are very, very concerned about what will happen next season, regardless of whether we win the Champions League. For example, I think you're going to need 69 points to get into the top 5 this year. Villa could win their last 2 games, get to 69 points and not be in the top 5. So you're going to need 69 points, basically. That's 30 more points than what we've got. That's a hell of a lot of points. I don't see it. I don't see top 6 next season. I don't see it. And I don't know whether our fan base is ready for that if we win the Europa League. I think if we win the Europa League, there will suddenly be this expectation that we're going to challenge for top 4, that we're going to go from 17th to 4th. And I don't see it. It's 10 more wins. Exactly, Brian and Dinky. We probably actually, when I think about it, just to digress for a moment, we probably made this mistake with Ten Hag, didn't we? I know some of you wanted Ten Hag to go. I didn't. I felt he earned the right, winning the FA Cup, to have another shot. But in hindsight, they didn't give him another shot. So they should have sacked him. And I wouldn't have been happy about that, but they should have done. But when you think about it, 8th last season almost felt worse than 17th this year, or 16th. But we were 8th best team in the Premier League last year across a 38-game season with an injury crisis. And we won an FA Cup, which was basically a get-out-of-jail card. But what happened over the summer? Yoro, Ugarte, Xerxes, Mazraoui, De Ligt. We're in the Europa League. Expectations were top 4. How did we go from 8th to top 4? How did we set those expectations so high? Because we'd won the FA Cup and we thought we were back. But we ignored what had happened in the league. How teams had run through us loads of times. How we weren't actually good enough last season. We did have injuries, but even with those injuries back, I still think teams would have run through us. So we won an FA Cup. We were awful in the league. We bought a few players in the summer and suddenly everyone was going top 4. And actually, I think I've learnt my lesson. That was ridiculous. We never should have been saying I said top 4. We never should have said it. We should have looked at the previous season, seen how far we were behind everybody else and gone 6th, maybe. Well, look at where we are now. So I think we have to win the Europa League. Of course we do. But I know exactly what will happen if we do. We'll set unrealistic targets. Sonu says, Amorim fuming. I think he was after the game, mate. I really, really do. I want to get into some of his other comments as well. Big Trock says, players turn up when their wages go up. G-Force says, Amorim out, Brigade are delusional. Definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Mate, I don't think there's an Amorim person out there, the Amorim out person there that I could understand. I don't think there's a top. I don't think there's an angle they could come at where I'd actually respect it. And I would try, but I don't. I think it's a shot in the dark. I think it's a prediction. I just think it's just so obvious how he thinks the same as us. He's really angry. He's really frustrated. But I'd take you back to what I said at the start. He can't do it with these players. And it's almost as if the Amorim out brigade thinks somebody can, which I find incredible because a lot of these players have been here for years. So it's almost, I don't really get what they want. It's like, let's change the manager again and try somebody else. And every single decent manager you bring in will fail because they can't do it. I'm going to hold my hands up here. Amorim can't do it with these players. If that's a reason to sack him, sack him. But tell me the manager that does, because really, Pep's not doing it. Klopp's not doing it. Arteta's not doing it. They're not doing it. They're not going to get anything out of these players. It's just so obvious. And I don't know why people expected Amorim to get people out of these players, because that wasn't the brief. That's why he shouldn't have had the job in November. His job wasn't to come in and get the best out of these players. His job was to come in and rebuild the football club. And to rebuild the football club, you've got to listen to what you've been saying for the last 5 years. We need to clear the club out. We need a wholesale change. But we're still making the mistake of sacking the manager to get a new manager to work with these players. What are we going to do with the new manager? Get Sancho and Rashford back? Oh, let's try again. I mean, I don't get it. Like, we're not good enough. He can't do it. No good manager can do it. We need to replace players. And until we do that, I don't see any massive change, apart from we'll occasionally keep winning trophies because on our day, they can turn up. Pep Guardiola struggles without one of his players, Rodri. Why should Amorim succeed with none of his? Perk says, the same people who complain about Amorim now would complain about the style of player under Big Sam Moyes Southgate, says Perk. Perk, you've got Jeremy Clarkson as your emoji. Nothing to do with football. I ask very little. Can anybody tell me when Clarkson's Farm's coming out? Because Will told me it's coming out really soon and I just really would like to watch it. It's not out yet, is it? If we can sell the players, should Amorim leave? Says Keel. If we can't sell the players, we're done. So it doesn't really matter who's in charge. I can't emphasise this enough. We need to back him, says Jacob. But we do. I think the vast majority do. I mean, I'll run a poll now, even with trolls in the chat. Either or. Amorim in, Amorim out. But look, there'll be papers, journalists, content creators, Twitter accounts saying, should Amorim be sacked? And they'll want him to be sacked. And, you know, I think it's incredible, naive, inflammatory, stupid, moronic, because it's not going to happen anyway. Amorim needs this summer to instill the right mentality and teach our players how to play in the system. More scrutiny this time next year, says Alex. You know what also? You know what? He also needs to get rid of players that you might not think he needs to get rid of. He might need to get rid of players that are influential, that don't suit his system, of course. But he might need to get rid of players that are influential in the dressing room who just don't work. You know, I don't know what he thinks about individual players, but there are a few that come to my mind that have been here for quite a while that everyone say they're good lads. I'd get rid of them. They don't suit the system. It's important to reiterate that Amorim inherited this squad. We saw last year how fragile the psyche is, and it's carried on this season. My only worry is that Amorim is not putting any credit in the bank for next season, says Patrick. Yeah, but that's the Glazers' fault, Patrick. You think about his win percentage, it's crap. It's absolutely crap. Like Ten Hag had a very good win ratio percentage right until the end. I remember when I was backing Ten Hag against the wave of Ten Hag outers, and I was saying he's got a better win ratio than Jose. I mean, I don't think Amorim's got a bloody better win ratio than. I mean, he must be the worst. It must be the worst because he's been thrown into a shit situation. Evening, Mark. I agree wholeheartedly and I love Amorim. Do you agree the main worry is that losing has become normalised, unthinkable for this great club, says Tom. I think this is a great point, Tom. I think this is a great point. I mean, I've got a few other comments from Amorim which are just right to the bone. But I think Tom makes a good point. Like, we're used to losing at Old Trafford. I think what happened when Sir Alex left, we lost the aura of Old Trafford. Teams used to come to Old Trafford and feel like they'd lost before they got here. And they, you know, felt invigorated. and wanted to give us a game. I think that has stayed. But also, I think we've got used to losing at Old Trafford. Like, it's a horrible thing to say, but we are losing at Old Trafford doesn't mean anything to these players. You know, the whole point, the whole concept of Fergie time was we're losing at Old Trafford, fucking get a goal, equalise, win it, you know, whatever. It's Old Trafford. We don't lose here. The amount of games we've lost at Old Trafford in the last 2 years is abysmal, absolutely abysmal. And as a manager, you're powerless, really, when you send a team out. You can make a sub, this, that, and the other, and you can take credit for it. But really, if it's in the mentality of the players that losing is acceptable, or they're not motivated not to lose, you're in big trouble. Some of that's because they're young, by the way. Some of that's because they're young and experienced. But, you know, it's... It's a problem, yeah. I think it's a great point. We are just a cup side. Fergie found this in 1990, says Daz. Nick P turned on the Napoli game to see McTominay midway through an overhead kick in the box earlier. Can we just end this ridiculous season soon, says Nick. Well, I don't know whether you heard or saw Gary Neville's tweet today, having a pop at the Forest owner for going on the pitch and having a go at the manager. Said it was scandalous. I couldn't believe what I was reading. I was like, hold on a minute. Whether you agree with the owner going on to the pitch and having a go at the manager because they've bottled top four is by the by. Our owners don't even turn up. They sack off the workforce. They keep us in debt. If it's scandalous to show passion as an owner, what is it to do what they've done to us, Gary? I mean, it's prison time, surely. To be fair, this is Ten Hag's squad, hence higher wins, says Aya. No retreat, no agenda. Glory players for Instagram, and that's the mentality of most of the team. No team mentality. Just brand. Bruno will be the death of Amorim, but understand. Oh dear. Respectfully disagree about age. We have had young players turn up in the past as proper professionals. It's the dressing room culture currently, says Swami. Yeah, I agree, but the young players don't set the dressing room culture. You know, you're talking about young players turning up. Who set the standard for the young players? Who told Giggs and Beckham that it was unacceptable to lose at Old Trafford? Cantona, Bruce, Schmeichel, Irwin, Keane. We've got too many young players who don't have people teaching them, and they're learning to lose. This is what I mean. I'm digressing again because I want to talk about what Amorim said, but I didn't come up with the learner driver concept just for a bit of a, you know, Pratt or Slow Sports News or I can't speak. Or I've played the game. I didn't come up with learner drivers because I sit there at night going, oh, that'll be another one of my sayings. Let's get a T-shirt out. I came up with learner drivers because it actually makes sense. Learner drivers are taught by instructors. They can't go driving around on their own with L plates without somebody next to them. They have to pass a test. So Jim Radcliffe, Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada have set in place emotional blackmail by what is the thing that makes Manchester United what it is. To most of us, it's the intrinsic link to youth. We've had a youth player on the bench since the 1930s, obliterating any other club. We had the Busby Babes, who, you know, we know what happened in '58 in the Munich tragedy, and we know that, you know, will always be a huge part of the football club. We've had the class of '92. We've had people like Rashford, etc. We've always been inherently linked to youth. I think what they've done is, if you buy young players who are cheap, the fans will praise you for it because that's what this club is all about. And if you buy players that are young and cheap, one, you don't buy expensive proven players, which are more expensive. And two, you might be able to sell some of them for profit. So we as fans lord it up because we're buying young players, and that's what really gets us excited because that's what Man United's all about. And they get to do it on the cheap and get praised for it and might make some money out of it. But it doesn't work because look, young players are being taught to lose. Over the last 2 years, what's Garnacho learned? It's okay to lose at Old Trafford on the regular. What's Rasmus learned? It's okay. Mainu, it's okay. Amas is coming through. It's okay. We're teaching our young players to lose. We used to teach them to win. The class of 92, win. When Rio Ferdinand came here from Leeds, you win. You win. You win. You win. That's what we do. We win. We're bringing all these young players in. Oh, we're going to be great in the future. How are we going to be great in the future when we're teaching them to lose? The mentality that will stay with them into their prime years, we're turning them into Spurs players. Light switch. Oh, you've won a trophy, but you'll never win the league. You mould these players, and we're moulding them into losers. We're moulding them into light switch players. Oh, it doesn't matter if you play shit for 4 games. If you turn up in the cup game, you play another one in a month. Just focus on that. This is what we are creating. We're buying loads and loads of young players, but we're not teaching them to be winners. And you only teach them to be winners by being consistent and having people who can teach them. And who's teaching them? The whole club is broken, I'm afraid. And that, to me, is exactly why this Europa League final on Wednesday, a week on Wednesday, losing it just isn't worth thinking about. We used to park the bus and play long ball football. Amorim demands these players play real football. This has exposed these players we need to buy, says Pedro. Erland has sent 10 memberships. Thank you, Erland. You're an absolute legend, actually. Give him a W. I think I'd rather sack Amorim in the summer than spend loads and sack him in November, but I want to get as long as is needed. I want him to get as long as needed, says Harry. I actually think I could, if I could remove sack Amorim or Amorim out from the English dictionary, I would remove it permanently for 3 years. You know, if you could ban words put together, I'd get rid of it. I don't even know why it's in the vocabulary. To me, it's the absolute... There's a massive pile of things that need to be done at United. There's a massive amount of words that need to be shouted at Man United. Like, why is Sir Jim Ratcliffe here? Why is the Glazer still here? Why are we knocking down Old Trafford? Why is the debt still here? Why are we sacking loads of people? Why are we buying young people? Why are we raising ticket prices? There's just a massive list of words we could speak. And here we are again with a guy who's not responsible being held responsible. How do they keep getting away with it? And I've not even spoken about the players. Victor Lindelof's been here for 8 years. I feel like I'm picking on Victor Lindelof. I'm not. I just think he represents something that's crazy to me. How has Victor Lindelof been at Man United for 8 years? How has he managed that? Through shit leadership. How is... You know, if you go to work tomorrow and, somebody mentions somebody who was not that good at their job and they got rid of them. And then imagine never getting rid of them. Like, there is so much wrong. And we're going after a manager who's been here for 6 months. Crazy. Everyone said we must sell Mainu, Garnacho and Bruno. Everything said we must we sell Mainu, Garnacho and Bruno, says Keel. Respectively disagree. I've done that one from Spammy. Anyway, look, let me talk about something Amorim has said, because we've only spoken about 2 of his quotes and he's actually said quite a lot more. He said, we have to be strong in the summer because we will not have a next season like this. If we start like this, we should give the space to different people. And I think what he's saying basically is, if next season goes like this season, I'll be gone. We have to have a strong summer, because if we repeat this, he knows he'll be gone. I mean, look, in any other environment, you can't lose 17 games and be down in 16th place in the league. But obviously there are mitigating circumstances, and look, there will be a post-mortem on this season, and there will only be one person to blame. Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I mean, he's the guy, at the end of the day, who said he's in charge of the football operations. You spent £300 million backing Ten Hag. You sacked him in 2 months. You put a guy on gardening leave, the best director in football. You then sacked him. You brought a manager in November who has got no attachment or profile of player that fits his system. You didn't do much in the January transfer window. In fact, you weakened the squad. I know why we are where we are in the Premier League, and that's because Sir Jim Ratcliffe absolutely fucked up this season, and I think he needs to own it. But next season, you won't be able to say the same thing unless he does the same stuff again. I think with a pre-season and a summer transfer window, Ruben Amorim can't finish below 10th. He can't. I'll put my hand up and say that. He can't. And I think that's what he's saying. He said, we conceded an avoidable goal and had chances to score. We lacked energy and pace. We have to do better. Let's finish the season, and then there will be a lot to think about for next season. He said, in the Europa League, we don't play very well, but there is urgency because we can't lose and we find a way to win the match. In the Premier League, there is no such feeling. What have we just been talking about? You know, how much honesty you want on your toast? He's saying we've not even been that good in the Europa League, which is true. We haven't played vintage football in the Europa League. We're in the final, but we haven't played well. He's not glazing this at all. We've been shit in the Premier League and we've not been good in the Europa League. But the difference is, because there's jeopardy, there is urgency, we know we can't lose, and we find a way to win. But in the Premier League, there's no such feeling. I mean, that is terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. So you've got the manager saying exactly what we say. When there is jeopardy, these players will find it in them to perform. But in the Premier League, they basically can't be asked. And that's really difficult. Look, the quickest and easiest way, Moments FC, exactly, Jay. The quickest and easiest way to explain this is that if Amorim had bought half this team, that's going to fall on deaf ears. Hold on a minute, mate. You bought half this team. You might be able to go, yeah, he didn't buy the other half. He needs to build his team. And I would probably say that. He didn't buy any of this team. Dorgu's a 20-year-old kid. He didn't buy, he hasn't bought the leaders in this team. He hasn't got the experienced players in this team. He hasn't developed most of this team. Even Dorgu's only been here for 4 months. It's not like, he's had enough time with him because he's 20. So I think he can say what he said. And I think he's right to say what he said. In the Europa League, we've not played that well, but they found the gears to win and they found the urgency. In the Premier League, they don't do it. And as a coach, you'd be sat there going, that player there on Thursday night is unrecognisable to what they are today. That player there on Thursday night did amazing things, and today they can't be asked. What's all that about? And trust me, we won the FA Cup last year. We beat Man City in the final. We're in the Europa League final. It's strange. Light switch players who... but look, we're not... I've got to say, it's hard to digest as a Manchester United fan because you know what Manchester United should be about and the standards we should have. It's not actually that unusual. When I look at Brighton this season, some of their results are just incredible. You see them have home games they should win, then they don't. You see them go away from home against teams you think they're going to lose to, and they win. Look at Spurs, the ultimate unpredictable team. So, unfortunately, what we've got is not unique. It's just not what you want at a club like Manchester United. We have basically accumulated a squad, not necessarily certain individuals, but a squad, and every squad has an identity, by the way. Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, they all have an identity. They've got individual players and they've got different identities, but a collective identity of a team is not something new. Our collective identity is inconsistent, light switch, can't be asked unless they want to be. And I think that's basically what he's saying. And how he changes that is going to be very, very interesting, but how you change that on a budget becomes even more difficult. I said it in the match reaction, and I thought, am I gonna rephrase it in the 8 o'clock show? Honestly, I'll throw it to you. How much money, if I said to you I can write you a cheque up to £1 billion, how much realistically do you need to guarantee me top 4 next season? And then I'll write you another cheque next summer to go to the next level, because we're not winning the league in 1 year. We're not bloody Leicester. Those things don't happen. How much out of £1 billion do you need to get into the top 4 next season? Breaking it down, God, to guarantee you top 4, it'd probably take you the whole lot. But realistically, probably 8 players between 50 and £70 million. No, I tell a lie. 8 players between 40 and £70 million. So somewhere around 600 million. I agree with you, Pablo. Yeah. Somewhere around 600 million to get top 4 is what I need. I won't win you the league with that, by the way. And we're not writing a cheque for 600 million, are we? And even if I did write a cheque for 600 million, you might not get the players because you might not be in the Champions League. So you can't do it because of FFP either. Champions League or not, we need cash in the summer from wherever the fuck possible, says Mojo. Hope you're doing well, Mojo. Sell shares, sell Nice. Couldn't give a toss. With only 2 summers under him, Amorim needs 7 to 8 players each summer. Otherwise, forget it. The struggle continues, says Mojo. And also, it's like the previous comment said, there's no point embarking on this journey if we're not going to see it through. I mean, I don't see the point in giving Amorim pennies, like £200 million. It doesn't work, and then you sack him. That would mean £300 million for Ten Hag sacked, 200 million for another restart sacked. That's £500 million again, and you've got a new manager. Like, it's just so logical that if you're going to pick the guy, make sure you back that guy, because every time you don't, you basically burn however many 100 millions. I mean, we burnt £300 million last summer. Fortunately, I think Mazraoui, De Ligt, Yoro, maybe Agate and Xerxes, maybe not, I don't know. Fortunately, Amorim will be able to use them, but they're not really his picks, are they? And he might not be able to use them. So every time you sack a guy, you have to reset again and find a more budget. What's the point? Like, I know Ten Hag wasn't their guy, but if Amorim's your guy, you give him 300 million this summer, you give him 300 million next summer, you give him 300 million the summer after that. You do it for 3 years. That's 900 million. You should have your team by then. What you don't do is give him 300 million. Oh, the results aren't good. We're getting pressure from the fans. Let's sack him and get a start again. It's just hemorrhaging money to a massive degree. Donald Trump's tariffs are working so well. Even the Pope was made in America, says Outdoor Adventures. Mark, which players should leave the club? You really want me to go there, Davy? If we get 2,000 likes, I'll go there. Are players scared of getting injured before the final, says Keel? Well, maybe they are, Keel, but why would you... If you're Mason Mount, why would you be scared of getting injured before the final? Probably because you've been injured for most of the last 2 years. But you're not starting the final. What's the point in being fit for the final to sit on the bench? Like, it's like not asking out your dream date because they might say no. Oh, I don't want to put myself on the line and expose myself if they say no. If you don't fucking ask them, they're not going out with you anyway. Like, there was a number of players today who, if they were thinking, I don't want to get injured for the final, you're not playing in the bloody final. So, you know, I don't know. Last summer window was ruined by slow transfers, even though we got good players, says Julius. Watch Mobland. I've seen it, Gadget. It's brilliant. It's not out till tomorrow, though, is it? When is Clarkson's Farm out? I missed that completely. This is a change of subject, Mark. And by the way, hello, hope you're doing well, says Outdoor Adventures. I hope you're doing well as well. I know the name. Anyway, I was wondering if I can have your permission to make a kind of political joke. I mean, you can. I might not read it. Sent one membership, Justin Wisher. It's just an average, inexperienced squad. It's the rotten culture at United which spreads to new signings like a disease. Ruben will change it, says Dexter. Right now, Independiente, the Red Devils of Argentina, are playing with pure heart in the local cup. Watch 2 minutes and you'll see what Man United lacks. Passion and love for the badge. Erland, I watch a lot of football. I've said this for so many years on That's Football. Oh my God. You can watch Fulham and they put Man United to shame. And I'm not taking the piss out of Fulham. You can watch Birmingham City and they put Manchester United to shame. You make a great point. Like, obviously, I want to see good football. I want to see patterns of play. But, you know, Agate in the first half, and I'm not saying he was man of the match. I thought he had a good first half. But most of it was based on the fact that he was running around, making tackles and being energetic. That, McTominay used to get praise for that as well. Like, if you wear a Man United shirt, run around a lot and do a few tackles, you stand out as one of the best players. Technicality, forget it. My biggest worry is he needs multiple windows to get what he needs, but he's obviously going to get one summer, says Nick. Mate, I agree. Player power must end back Amorim all the way, says Justin. Jackie boy, I will check on it now. If he wins Europa, sack him. If he loses the final, don't waste our limited cash we got, says Sully. Okay. What was that? Jackie boy. Let me see if I can find it. Jackie boy says, every time United do the same thing, bring in a driver, give him a broken down car and expect him to win. And when he doesn't, they blame him, not the car, and bring in someone else who also fails. Why? Because the car is broken. Absolutely spot on. Absolutely spot on, Jackie. Couldn't have put it better myself. When does Amorim's contract run down, says Dylan, and do you think he will extend? Well, this goes back to what was being said before. Have these cups made it okay to lose? They can lose 10 games but only win 10 games in the cup to win a trophy, says Carlos. We used to, well, look, as Jackie said, as Dylan says, and as was said there, to me, it's abundantly clear that Amorim needs multiple transfer windows. Amorim needs time. But unfortunately, what they've done by bringing him in November and making him lose all these games is they've killed time. They've killed time. We've got 2K likes. I'll answer the question. They've killed time. And he needs time. So they've burnt their asset here. His contract is up in 2 years, which means it's up in 1 year, because nobody goes into their final year of their contract because, you know, players will be like, he's in his final year. Look at what happened with Pep, Sir Alex as well. You can't go into your final year. So they will have to renew his contract or sack him at the end of next season, which means he's got one transfer window. But he needs about 3. Absolutely needs 3. You're asking him to do an impossible job fast. And as I was saying, you know, I think Ollie set the club back 3 years. You could say Ten Hag did, whoever, it doesn't matter. You can't expect a guy to turn it around in 18 months. If there's progress, there's progress. Like, if we finish 8th next year, it's progress. Will it be enough progress? Will the Amorim out crowd be growing bigger and bigger? That's what worries me. That's what worries me. Is I think the expectations of certain people are unrealistic. If we give him a summer and sack him, what then? Will be completely new system again. Needs to be given time, says Ben. Milton Chapman and Somnath, welcome to Members Club. Chris C says you missed my super chat. I'll try and find it, Chris, sorry. As Angry Rampman, may he rest in peace, said about Chelsea, there is no passion, there is no vision, and there is no aggression in this football club, says Jackie Boy. Dylan, I've read it. Thank you. Okay, let me see if I can find this other one as well. I'm going to answer this question as well. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, because you have done it. Oh, Chris, you couldn't be the most awkward super chat to find in the world. There it is. Number 1 on that team is not good enough. No one on that team is. Well, you were right with that. No one on that team is good enough. Number 1 as well. Sell anyone that has a team interested in them, even the younger players, and start over. Bad attitudes throughout. I just think we're crying out for experience. Absolutely crying out for experience. I See Dead Bodies says, I hate to say I told you so, but they set Ruben to fail. Are we any better than with Van Gaal? I said this many years ago. Until we see the Glazers out, nothing good will come our way. I mean, mate, we could spend hours talking about that, and it's a shame that we move away from it constantly. But, you know, we've been doing this for 10 years. We've had this conversation collectively for 10 years. The Glazer out movement will be back again soon. It will stay for a couple of months, and then it will get buried like a cat buries a shit. It still stinks. We know where it is, but we just can't see it. It happens all the time. I don't know why it keeps happening. I wish it didn't, but nobody has the appetite to see it through, follow through. You know, it wouldn't happen at Liverpool, but it happens at Man United. You know, what more can we say? 75,000 people turned up today. I don't know what they were expecting. 4-0. Van Nistelrooy hat-trick. Beckham free kick. What year do you think it is? 75,000 people still turn up. Hospitality will be rammed, all quaffing the champagne and eating the food. Nothing's going to change because there's no reason for it to change. Yeah, it won't. I'll answer the question, who would I sell? Okay. right here, right now, Onana has to go. Defensively, Luke Shaw's got to go. If he's pulled his hamstring again, he's just got to go. Pay him off. Like, there's just no point in having a broken player hanging around, living off past glories. He's got to go for me. You've got to get harsh. Unless a miracle is going to happen, he's got to go. So Onana, Luke Shaw. Who else from the defence? Obviously, we know Lindelof's going to go. I would keep Maguire for another year, but he'd be a backup like Johnny Evans. He wouldn't be a starter. I think our starting centre-backs have got to be people like a new signing, De Ligt, Mazraoui, Martinez, Yoro, hopefully Heaven. Maguire's the experienced Johnny Evans player. Fullbacks, I probably would keep Delo around for another year, but he wouldn't be a starter. Obviously, I'm going to keep Dorgu, Amas. I can't think of anybody else. Obviously, Malassi has got to go. Into the midfield, if I could, I'd get rid of Casemiro. I like Casemiro, but the wage is ridiculous. And if you're asking me, Casemiro or an Edison, Edison's more for the future. Casemiro's only going to give us a year. And for 350k, I would do that. It won't happen, though. Agate obviously stays. Eriksen's going to go. I'll come back to Bruno towards the end. Mainu, I need to have a chat. What's going on? Like, what is this about the contract? Are you going? I mean, if you're not happy, you're going. I just don't understand. I don't want Mainu to go, but I can't understand what's going on. Who else? Mount. Jury's out. I mean, to be honest, if someone put an offer in for Mount, I'd take it because I just think he's going to stay injury prone, even though I'd love him to stay and do well. I'm trying to think midfielders. Garnacho stays. Ahmad stays. Bruno. I mean, Bruno, I've always said no, but I think today. And look, there's nothing wrong with changing your opinion, but I think today with Bruno, I've said for a while that Amorim's going to use him in the pivot, and at times it's looked okay. But again today, and he wasn't at his best today, but even at his best, you're going to get all the good attacking stuff, but he's never going to track runners, he's never going to win 50-50s, he's never going to position himself in place to block running lanes and stuff like that. He's never going to have the defensive side to his game. So if you're going to put him next to somebody in the pivot, that person next to him is going to have a big problem and we will get overrun in the midfield. And Amorim seems to think he can play Bruno at 31 in a midfield pivot. And that can't work. So has he got the legs to play in the front two behind a striker? Well, if he has, I'm not selling him. Let me put it like this. If someone's giving me £120 million for Bruno Fernandes and my plan is to play him in the midfield pivot, I'll sell him. If someone's giving me £120 million and I'm planning to play Bruno as a number 10 for the next 3 years, I'll keep him. That's where I am with Bruno. As a pivot, I just can't see it. I can't see that working. It's too much of a luxury to put someone like that in a midfield too. I hope I'm wrong. Into the attack. Who haven't I done? Right, okay. I know everyone's waiting for a certain one. Xerxes, I'll keep for now. 1 more year. And I feel like I've missed somebody other than the one people are waiting for me to talk about. There's got to be more. I feel like there is somebody else before that. Collier can stay, obviously. In relation to Rasmus, honestly, and I'm probably going to be in the minority, and I don't care, I would keep him for another year because we're not going to buy 2 strikers in the summer, and the worst thing we can do is sell Rasmus and bring Delap in. We'll be back where we were before. The worst thing we can do is sell Rasmus and bring Gyökeres in, and then Gyökeres gets injured. We'll be back where we are before. We do need 2 strikers. So, for me, obviously, it's very, very clear that we need an experienced striker. And I've been saying this for 18 months. So, what we do with Rasmus is immaterial because I need an experienced striker and I need 2 strikers. So, I already see a hole up front. And I think when I see people moaning about the number 10 position or the striker position, oh, we need to sell this player, we need to sell that player. I don't think we need to sell Garnacho. I don't think we need to sell Rasmus. I think we need to bring in Cunha and Gyökeres to have them as starters, and then we have depth with the other players. You don't always look what I said about Dalot. I wouldn't sell Dalot, but I'd bring Frimpong in, because then I've got Dalot as the backup who can play left back as well, but he's not my starter. We need to build a squad. Everybody's always like sell, but if you sell everybody, you need to buy. If you sell Rasmus, you need to buy 2 strikers. Never going to happen. If you sell Garnacho, you're replacing him with Cunha. Mount gets injured. Bruno's playing in the pivot. You've only got Xerxes and Ahmad. One of them gets injured. You're playing Cunha and Ahmad every week. Like, we actually do need to build a squad out. It's not actually we need to sell everybody. We need to upgrade. We've had 1 striker up front for Manchester United for about 3 years. I think it was Martial and then Rasmus for the last 2. We need 2 bloody strikers. We're threadbare in so many areas. Look at right back. We're left back. Centre back now. Number 10s, we're short on them. Like, Mount is injured a lot. Xerxes is injured at the moment, so you're relying on Garnacho and Ahmad. We actually need squad depth. So for me, it's not about selling everybody. Some of them would stay for another year. And of course, if Rasmus has a season next year like this year, you bring your other striker in. You've still got your experienced striker. If Garnacho has another season like this season, maybe you move him on and you bring another number 10 in. But we're not going to buy 2 strikers and 2 number 10s this summer, so I wouldn't sell Garnacho and Rasmus. We're not going to buy 2 right backs this season, so I'm not going to sell Dalot either. But the rest of the players I've got rid of, I would do. Look, if we want to compete in the Premier League next year, we need a squad. And at the moment, we haven't got a team, let alone a squad. Which is why I think when we talk about Amorim, it's totally and utterly unrealistic to expect it all to get solved in one summer, because the enormity of what we need to do is too big. And when you look at Arteta at Arsenal, his first job was actually getting rid of people like Aubameyang and Ozil. And then gradually they improved. And they still haven't won the league. They still haven't won the Champions League. And yet people are asking Amorim to do in one summer what Arteta hasn't yet done in 5 years. Because the world's gone mad. The world's gone mad. And that's not just in football. The world has gone mad. There's just no patience anymore. I'm thinking about doing a YouTube channel about just life and trying to make people just calm down and think. You know, it's like unrealistic expectations. Off topic, Milinkovic-Savic had a worldie against Inter, says Nicosi. Have Napoli won the league yet? If he had a worldie, then I presume Inter lost. 1 point in it. Oh, no, only because Napoli are drawing. It's not over yet. No, Inter beat Torino 2-0. Napoli are 1-1 with Genoa, but I think they're going to win the league. I think they will. What a great show tonight, by the way. Cheers, everyone. Keel says, cheaps, loans and freebies. I mean, how do you improve a team on that? If you're keeping everyone, we should be better, says Robert McCormack. I'm not keeping everyone. I got rid of about 8 players there. And of course, I didn't even add in Sancho, Rashford, Anthony, because they're all obvious. So I got rid of about 10 players. And I want to build a squad as well. And also, the players I want to bring in are pretty important and experienced players that will make some of the younger players better. To be real, we will be in the bottom half next season. Amorim gone, and hope we will be relegated rather than getting top 4, says Jude. That sounds more like a wish. What would you do about Martinez, says Dylan? Well, I think Martinez is absolutely good enough if he stays fit, but 2 years of injuries do concern me, if I'm being honest. 15,000 tuned in tonight. You're absolute legends, by the way. Really, really appreciate that. It just shows how important it is to all of you. I mean, look, honestly, I've said it to you before. Obviously today did nothing to allay what I'm about to say. I'm absolutely terrified's not the word. I can't be a hypocrite. I've always said to you, people say, do you get nervous? I don't get nervous about playing Liverpool or Man City. I always say, I'm not nervous because this is where I want to test ourselves. This Spurs game is not Liverpool. It's not Barcelona. This terrifies me, not because I'm scared of Spurs. It's nothing to do with that. I don't get scared about or nervous about oppositions because I think if we go to Anfield and we get beat 7-0, it will send a big message of how far we are behind. And if we are behind, we deserve to get battered. But this is not about being scared about Spurs. This is not about that. It's the fear of what happens if we lose. It goes beyond a football game. It's the enormity of what happens to our football club if we lose this game. And I've got to say, I am scared about that in a footballing sense because I can taste the victory, the wine, and the chats, and the feeling in the fan base of us all go. I can feel it. I can touch it. It's so close. I can touch what it feels like, and I want to just grab it, but I'm not allowed to. I know what it's going to feel like to win that because we sort of did it last year with the Man City game. And you sit there and you go, oh my God, we were so lucky. How have we got away with that? This can never happen again. Oh my God, breathe. I've imagined it. I know exactly how it feels. And I'm like, oh, just get in. Unbelievable. This is for you. This is all for you. Fuck those players. Fuck those Glazers. Sir Jim Ratcliffe, forget it. This is for the fans. We deserve this. Come on. The summer's alive. We go again. We've got hope. I can feel it. And that scares me because it might not happen because I can also feel the utter dejection, despair, confusion of what just happened. Like, what do we do? And if on the Thursday morning they announce, Cunha, here we go, I think for the first time ever, that won't work. I don't think that will work. And the little post-season tour to Asia, again, I don't think that's going. I don't think they're going to be able to spin their way out of this one if we don't win that final. It might work with some of you, but I don't think it's going to work with most of us. We might pretend it works. We might start coming up with takes like, well, it would be good for us to be able to train all week when Europe's on. But we know it's going to cripple the club financially. We know it's going to hinder what sort of players we can bring in. And ultimately, it'll probably end up with us having to sell Bruno Fernandes, if we're being completely honest. I mean, I don't know whether anybody's said it yet. It's certainly been hinted. But I think if we lose that Europa League final, we might be pushing Bruno out the door to survive. So, yeah, I am worried about that game because I think it just dictates so much. I'm not going to sit and say it's the most nervous I've ever been because I think those of us who watched 99, nothing will ever come close to that. That was just like, I felt it was going to happen because it was like unprecedented, amazing. And I felt it was going to happen, but I was ridiculously nervous. And then obviously you're watching it fall away to a point where you're thinking, this is not going to happen. And then it did happen. So nothing's ever going to compete with the emotions of that game. And it's bullshit to say that it ever would. But I certainly think it's going to be a very different type of match for us to watch a week on Wednesday. And I certainly think I'll be watching that game different from I've ever watched any game. Certainly on this channel. And I can't even predict what it will be. Probably every tackle that goes against us, I'll scream and shout again. I just think it's going to be torture. But Amorim said we're going to suffer. And we will suffer. And what bothers me is that when we won on Thursday, I felt that there was going to be a positive week and a half for us to believe in these players, believe they're going to get the job done. And what they did today was just flush it down the toilet and say, no, we still are capable of being absolutely shit. And that's what disappointed me about today is like the fans are suffering this season and we want to believe that we can rescue something from it. And today's performance just sends you into complete and utter despair of how the fucking hell am I supposed to think this team's going to turn up? Momentum, exactly, MK. Ahmad, Yoro, Mainu, rest are all bang average, says Robert McCormack. Yeah, but you can't sell 22 players. If you're asking me who I'd build I mean, I wouldn't put Mainu in there at the moment, Robert, actually. I've got to be honest. I agree with you on Ahmad. I agree with you on Yoro. I think experienced players, De Ligt, Mazraoui and Bruno. But beyond that, I could probably take it or leave it. I'm not saying they're bad players, the rest of them. I could probably take it or leave it. But from the, you know, Ahmad and Yoro, Bruno, De Ligt, Mazraoui, it doesn't really go beyond those 5 for me. I don't mind Agate Reagan. I don't mind Delo. I don't mind Garnacho. I don't mind a few other players, but if you're asking me 5 players I'd take to work with, then I would. Look, Marvin's right. Mainu's potential is high, and I will stick by Mainu like you and Robert and everybody else. But I also have to be honest and say, why is it that he's so talented, but none of us can find a place for him in a team where there are 4 positions for him to play and we're shit? That reflects on him. That reflects on him. This team is shit, and we can't find a place for him in it. If it was Mainu last season, he walks into the team. I know where I'd put him. I'd put him right next to Agate or Casemiro, and Bruno can piss off and play in the 10. But where we are at the moment, he doesn't walk into that team, and that's a problem. And you know, I've seen some people going, oh, here we go again. It's another young player who's had too much too soon at United. You know, he thinks he's made it and he's switched the light off. I don't know whether it's that. I don't know whether it's an injury. I don't know whether it's a second season syndrome. I don't know whether the fact that he's only 20 and his body's growing and he's had a very stop-start season, whereas last season we had too much football. Is it the contract? I don't know. I certainly would never throw stones at what the issue is, but there is an issue there and it needs to solve itself quickly, because I'm still very reminiscent about what he did last year and how good he is. And I tell you what, even that 90 minutes today, that wasn't Mainu. There wasn't even a glimpse of Mainu. The only glimpse we've had of Mainu in the last few weeks was the goal against Lyon. We used to get 4 or 5 a game. We're getting 1 a month. And I don't really understand it. But he's an amazing talent. But at the moment, you know, I wouldn't put him in the top 5. Amorim is a mastermind. Imagine the spend required this summer would have been lighter if he played to paper the cracks and fool us all that we had something decent. He went for full exposure, says Nick Peake. Well, I think he did, yeah. I think it's a great observation. Right, I tell you what, you're bloody useless or I'm useless. When is Clarkson's Farm released? No, that's last year. May the 23rd. Oh, it's a couple of weeks yet. That's no good. Not watching that tonight then, am I? Thanks everyone for tuning in. Absolute legends. Really appreciate it. Start of a new week tomorrow. We're playing Friday Night Football this week. I have a feeling tomorrow there's going to be quite a lot of stuff coming out, so just get ready for that. Can't really say too much at the moment, but just see that. McTominay's got another assist. Go on Napoli, says Robert. Imagine Robert McCormack's wall. Rashford, McTominay, and then on the other wall, a dartboard with Bruno's face on it. It's a terrifying concept. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Speak to you all in a bit. Thank you. Oh, 84% of you, Amorim in. 17,000 votes. 16% of you, Amorim out. There we go. A landslide. Take care.